The rain hammered against the glass walls of the penthouse, thunder echoing across the skyline like a warning no one could ignore. Inside, silence weighed heavier than the storm, broken only by the faint sound of a child's muffled sobs. A voice sharp, cruel, and venomous cut through the air. "Stop crying, Amelia. You're nothing but a spoiled brat, just like your useless mother." The words struck like knives. The little girl, no older than 9, sat trembling at the edge of the marble staircase, her small hands gripping the polished rail as if holding on for safety. Across from her stood Vanessa, tall, elegant, and composed at least on the outside. But her eyes blazed with fury, her lips twisted with contempt. From the corner of the room, a figure stepped forward. Maria, the housemaid, her uniform slightly worn, but her posture unwavering, placed herself between Vanessa and the child. "That's enough," Maria said firmly, her accent thick but her voice steady. "You will not speak to her like that." The storm outside raged on, but the real storm had only just begun. What no one realized, what neither Vanessa nor Maria knew, was that Daniel Harrison, billionaire CEO and Amelia's father, had returned early from his business trip. He stood in the hallway, unseen, listening, every nerve in his body tightening with each cruel word that tripped from Vanessa's mouth. Daniel Harrison was not a man easily shaken. He had built an empire from nothing, a tech conglomerate that stretched across continents, his name etched into the glass towers of New York and Shanghai. The world saw him as unbreakable, charismatic, calculated, ruthless when necessary. But here, inside his own home, the fortress of his wealth and success, he felt powerless. Every instinct screamed at him to storm in, to tear Vanessa away from his daughter, to put an end to the nightmare unfolding before his eyes. Yet he stayed frozen, because this was not just anger, this was revelation. He had doubted Maria before when she tried to warn him. He had silenced Amelia when she hesitated to speak. He had chosen love, or what he thought was love over truth. Now the truth stared him in the face, uglier than anything he had imagined. Vanessa, the woman he planned to marry, the woman society praised as the perfect partner for a billionaire, was nothing but a predator feeding on his daughter's fragility. "Go upstairs, Amelia," Maria whispered gently, shielding the girl with her body. "Don't listen to her words. They're poison." But Amelia shook her head. Her eyes, wide with fear, stayed locked on Vanessa. "She hurt you if I leave," the child whispered. Vanessa laughed a cold, hollow laugh that reverberated against the marble. "Hurt her? Don't flatter yourself. This woman works for me, for us. She scrubs floors, washes clothes. She doesn't decide how I talk to you, Amelia. You're weak, pathetic. If you want to survive in this world, you better toughen up." Maria's jaw tightened. Being cruel isn't strength. And treating a child with hatred? That's weakness. For a second, Vanessa's mask slipped. Her eyes darkened, her composure cracked, and something feral flickered across her face. It was in that very second that Daniel stepped forward, his footsteps echoing across the marble like a judge entering the courtroom. Vanessa froze. Maria gasped softly. Amelia's lips parted in shock. Daniel's voice, deep and controlled, carried the weight of both fury and disappointment. "I want to hear every word again, Vanessa. Go on, don't stop now." The room fell into a suffocating silence. Vanessa tried to recover, her features softening, her voice switching to honey. "Daniel, love, I was just disciplining her. You know how children exaggerate. She needs guidance, and Maria oversteps her place constantly." "Guidance?" Daniel interrupted, his tone sharper than the lightning flashing outside. "That wasn't guidance. That was hatred." Maria stepped back slightly, holding Amelia close. She had no intention of interfering further, but she stayed ready, her presence like a shield. "Daniel," Vanessa said, forcing a laugh, You know how much I care about her. About you. Don't let one small misunderstanding ruin everything we've built. Everything we've built." The words rang hollow in Daniel's ears. He thought of the years he had invested in her, the dinners, the galas, the photographs plastered across magazines, showing them as the golden couple. He thought of Amelia's quiet pleas when she had said she didn't like being alone with Vanessa. He thought of Maria's cautious warnings that went ignored. And for the first time in years, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in business or in love: regret. But regret quickly turned into resolve. "Amelia," he said softly, turning to his daughter, "go to your room for now. Maria, please stay with her." Amelia clung to him for a moment, whispering, "Don't let her hurt you, Daddy." He kissed her forehead. "No one will hurt us any more." As Maria guided the girl upstairs, Daniel remained, his towering figure casting a long shadow across the room. Vanessa tried to approach him, but he lifted a hand, halting her. "You played your part well," he said coldly. "The world believed it. I believed it, but masks don't last forever, Vanessa. And tonight, yours shattered." Her lips trembled, anger mixing with desperation. "You can't just throw me away, Daniel. Do you know what people will say? Do you know what the press will do if they find out you? The press?" Daniel's voice rose, thunderous. "You think I care about the press when my daughter lives in fear inside her own home? You think reputation matters more than her safety?" For the first time, Vanessa faltered. And for the first time, Daniel felt clarity. That night would mark the beginning of a war. Not one of boardrooms, mergers, or billion-dollar deals, but a war for truth, loyalty, and the very soul of his family. Because Vanessa was not about to disappear quietly. And Daniel Harrison, billionaire CEO, was about to discover that the greatest battles of his life would not be fought in skyscrapers or courtrooms, but within the walls of his own home. The storm finally began to subside outside, but inside the penthouse, the atmosphere grew darker with every passing second. Vanessa stood rigid, her designer heels clicking against the marble as she paced, her mind spinning with strategies. She was used to winning arguments, manipulating situations, bending people to her will. But Daniel's eyes, cold, unblinking, were not the eyes of a man easily swayed anymore. "You're making a mistake," she whispered, her voice trembling beneath its practiced charm. "Daniel, think about the headlines, the shareholders, the investors. If word gets out that you—" "I don't care about shareholders tonight." Daniel cut her off sharply. "I care about my daughter." Something you clearly never did. The venom in his tone pierced deeper than any public scandal could. Vanessa's pride bristled. She had been admired, envied, worshipped in elite circles as the perfect woman beside a powerful man. She could not accept being dismissed like a servant. Her lips curled into a bitter smile. "You really think you can survive without me? Who was there when you nearly lost everything in that merger? Who polished your image when the press called you ruthless? Me. I made you look like a man the world could love. Without me, Daniel, you're just another arrogant CEO with too much money and no heart." Daniel's expression didn't waver. "If keeping you meant sacrificing my daughter's happiness, then I was already bankrupt. And you were just the illusion that kept me blind." Upstairs, Amelia sat curled in Maria's arms, trembling. The child pressed her face against the maid's shoulder, whispering, "She hates me. Why does she hate me?" Maria's heart ached. She stroked Amelia's hair gently. "Sometimes people are cruel because they are empty inside. It has nothing to do with you, my sweet. You are kind, you are brave, and that's why she fears you." "But Daddy didn't believe me before," Amelia whispered. "What if he believes her again?" Maria sighed. She had worked for the Harrison family long enough to know Daniel's weaknesses. His business acumen was unmatched, but when it came to personal matters, he often trusted appearances over instincts. She feared that even now, Vanessa might twist the situation back into her favor. "I'll protect you," Maria promised softly, "even if no one else does." But deep down, Maria knew the storm was far from over. Back downstairs, Vanessa shifted tactics. She let her eyes glisten with false tears, her voice cracking like an actress on stage. "Daniel, I love you. I love Amelia. I get frustrated. I want her to grow strong, not spoiled. I'd push her because I want her to survive in this world. Can't you see that?" Daniel almost laughed. The audacity of her performance would have impressed him in another context. But now he saw through every word. "You don't love her," he said flatly. "You never did. Love doesn't sound like cruelty. Love doesn't leave scars you can't see." Vanessa froze, sensing the shift. He was no longer debating, he was deciding. "Pack your things," Daniel ordered. His voice was final, resolute. "You're leaving tonight." Her mask shattered. "You can't do this to me," she screamed, her voice echoing off the marble walls. "Do you know who I am? Do you know what people will say when they find out you tossed me aside like garbage?" Daniel stepped closer, his height towering, his presence dominating the room. "I don't care what they say. I care what my daughter feels when she wakes up tomorrow morning." Vanessa's eyes narrowed. For the first time, her desperation turned dangerous. She lowered her voice, laced with venom. "You think this is over, Daniel? If I walk out of here tonight, I won't go quietly. I know things that could destroy you. The board, the media. They'll eat it alive." Daniel's jaw clenched. He had anticipated a fight, but not a threat of this magnitude. Vanessa was cunning, and in her hands, even lies could sound like truths. Still, his resolve held. Let them try. "My empire wasn't built on lies, Vanessa, but yours? Yours collapses tonight." She glared at him, her breath uneven. For a moment, Daniel thought she might lunge at him. But instead, she turned sharply, grabbing her handbag with trembling hands. "This isn't finished," she hissed. "Not by a long shot." Her heels clicked furiously as she stormed toward the door. Before leaving, she spun around, her eyes blazing with spite. "Enjoy your little fairy tale with your maid and your brat. Because when I'm done, the world will see you for the failure you really are." And with that, she was gone, the door slamming shut like a final verdict. For a long moment, silence blanketed the penthouse. The storm outside had subsided, but inside, Daniel knew the battle had only just begun. He leaned against the glass wall, his reflection staring back at him. A man who could command billions, yet struggled to protect the one person who mattered most. His thoughts drifted to Amelia, to the fear in her eyes, to Maria's defiance, standing against Vanessa when he had hesitated. Without hesitation, Daniel ascended the staircase. He found Amelia still clinging to Maria, her small frame trembling with exhaustion. When Amelia saw him, she bolted into his arms. "Daddy, is she gone?" "Yes, sweetheart, she's gone." "But she'll come back," Amelia whispered, her eyes wide. "She always comes back." Daniel hugged her tightly. "Not this time, I promise." He glanced over Amelia's shoulder at Maria, who stood silently, her eyes filled with both relief and worry. "Thank you," he said softly. Maria shook her head. "No need to thank me. I did what any decent person would do." But Daniel knew better. In his world, decency was rare. And Maria had risked her job, her security, and perhaps more, to protect his daughter. That night, Amelia finally fell asleep, her breathing steady at last. Daniel remained by her bedside, watching her as if afraid she might vanish if he looked away. Maria lingered in the doorway, uncertain whether to leave or stay. "You were right," Daniel admitted quietly, his voice breaking. "You tried to warn me, and I didn't listen." Maria lowered her gaze. It's not easy to see the truth when the lie looks so beautiful. Daniel gave a bitter smile. Beautiful. Yes, that's what Vanessa was, beautiful poison. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of his choices pressing against him. He had chased success, appearances, the perfect image. And in the process, he had left his daughter vulnerable to the very monster he had invited into their lives. Now, he swore, things would change. But he had underestimated Vanessa before. And as he would soon discover, she had no intention of disappearing quietly. The following morning, the city glistened under pale sunlight, the storm's fury replaced by deceptive calm. But within Daniel's world, calm was an illusion. His phone buzzed relentlessly, messages from colleagues, board members, even journalists. Somehow, overnight, whispers had begun. Vanessa had struck faster than he anticipated. One headline read, "Harrison's empire built on lies? Insider speaks out." Another, "CEO's personal life in shambles, fiancé claims emotional abuse." Daniel tossed the phone aside, his temples pounding. He should have known Vanessa wouldn't leave quietly. She thrived on power, and now she sought to dismantle his piece by piece. From the doorway, Maria watched him with quiet concern. She held a tray of untouched breakfast, her eyes searching his face. "She's already moving against you, isn't she?" Daniel nodded grimly. "She's feeding the press. Half-truths, exaggerations. Things that can't be easily disproven." Maria set the tray down. "Then you must be careful. People love to believe scandal more than truth." He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "In business, I've fought enemies with billions at their disposal, governments even. But this, fighting someone who knows my weaknesses, that's a war I can't wage with money." Later that afternoon, Daniel called an emergency board meeting at Harrison Global's headquarters. The glass-walled conference room buzzed with tension as directors whispered among themselves. One of them, a sharp-eyed man named Leonard, leaned forward. "Daniel, the press is swarming. Investors are nervous. Vanessa claims you've been unstable, neglectful even. Some are questioning your ability to lead with focus." Daniel's jaw tightened. Vanessa was never more than a facade. Everything she's saying is a fabrication, designed to hurt me because she's been removed from my life. Another director, a woman with icy precision in her tone, interjected. "Perception is everything in this business. If people believe her, whether it's true or not, the company bleeds." Daniel leaned across the table, his voice firm. "Let me make one thing clear. I built this company from nothing. Every deal, every success, it was my vision, my risk. Vanessa contributed nothing but appearances. If anyone here doubts my leadership because of personal slander, then you're free to walk away. But if you stay, understand this. Harrison Global is not defined by gossip. It's defined by strength." The room fell silent. Some nodded reluctantly. Others looked unconvinced. The battle for his empire had begun, and Vanessa's shadow loomed larger with every whisper. That evening, Daniel returned home drained. Amelia ran to him, her small hands gripping his suit. "Daddy, are you okay?" He knelt, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, sweetheart. I promise." But Amelia studied him with the intuition only a child could have. "You're sad." Maria entered quietly, holding a cup of tea. "She sees the truth, Mr. Harrison. You can't hide it from her." Daniel accepted the tea, his hands brushing Maria's briefly. For a moment, gratitude flickered into something deeper, though he pushed it aside. This was not the time. "Maria," he said softly, "stay close to her. Vanessa may try to use Amelia to hurt me." The maid nodded solemnly. "I would give my life before I let that happen." Days turned into weeks, and Vanessa's campaign grew louder. Paparazzi lingered outside the penthouse. Tabloids painted Daniel as a tyrant, Vanessa as the victim. Invitations to galas vanished. Partnerships wavered. But inside the chaos, something unexpected bloomed. Amelia began to heal, slowly, under Maria's care. Her laughter returned, fragile but genuine. Daniel, despite the storm, felt closer to his daughter than ever before. And Maria, her loyalty, unwavering, became not just an employee, but the quiet anchor holding them together. One evening, as Daniel tucked Amelia into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, can Maria stay with us forever?" Daniel's throat tightened. "Would you like that?" Amelia nodded. "She makes me feel safe. Like Mommy used to." Her words struck deep. He kissed her forehead gently, his resolve hardening. Whatever it took, he would protect this fragile peace. But peace was fleeting. One night, a black car lingered outside the penthouse. Maria noticed it first, her instincts sharpened by unease. She drew the curtains tightly, her heart racing. Later, Daniel received an anonymous message on his phone. "You chose the maid over me. You'll regret it." Vanessa's venom was far from spent. The breaking point came at a shareholders' gala, one Daniel couldn't avoid. Vanessa appeared uninvited, dazzling in a silver gown, her presence stealing the spotlight. Cameras flashed, journalists swarmed. She approached Daniel with calculated grace, her smile sharp as glass. "Miss me, darling?" she whispered for his ears alone. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Leave before I have security escort you," she smirked. "And prove to everyone here that I'm right? That you're unstable, vengeful? Go ahead. Make me the victim again." Then, raising her voice, she addressed the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, I only came tonight because I still care about Daniel. I worry for him, truly. But sometimes, love isn't enough when someone refuses help." Gasps rippled through the room. The narrative was shifting again, Vanessa twisting the knife deeper. Daniel clenched his fists, ready to lash out, but then his eyes caught something Amelia, watching from the balcony above with Maria. Her little face pale, frightened. And in that moment, Daniel made a choice. He wouldn't give Vanessa the satisfaction of seeing him crumble. Instead, he stepped forward calmly, took the microphone, and spoke with clarity that silenced the room. "Vanessa speaks of love, but let me tell you what love truly is. Love is not humiliation. Love is not cruelty. Love is not using a child as a pawn in your hunger for power. Love is sacrifice. Love is protection. Love is truth. And for too long, I mistook vanity for love. No more." The room erupted not in applause, but in murmurs, shifting tides. Vanessa's smile faltered. For once, her performance failed. That night, Daniel returned home to Amelia's embrace. She looked up at him with wide eyes. "You were brave, Daddy." He smiled, holding her close. "I just told the truth." Maria stood nearby, her eyes glistening. For the first time, Daniel truly saw her, not just as the maid who had defended his daughter, but as the heart of the family he almost lost. "Maria," he said softly, "you saved us. I owe you more than I can ever repay." She shook her head. "You don't owe me anything, Mr. Harrison. I only did what was right." But Daniel knew better. Wealth, power, reputation, none of it mattered if love and loyalty were absent. Weeks later, Vanessa disappeared from the headlines, her schemes unraveling as quickly as they began. Investors regained confidence. The empire stood firm. But Daniel's true victory was not in the boardroom. It was in the quiet moments at home, watching Amelia laugh again, seeing Maria smile as she guided the child through homework, feeling, for the first time in years, that his house was no longer a battlefield but a home. One night, as he tucked Amelia in, she whispered, "Daddy, are we safe now?" Daniel kissed her forehead. "Yes, sweetheart, we're safe." And for the first time, he truly believed it. The rain returned weeks later, tapping gently against the glass walls of the penthouse. But this time, the storm outside didn't mirror the storm within. Because Daniel Harrison, billionaire, CEO, father had finally learned the truth that no empire could buy, that the greatest wealth a man could ever possess was not his fortune, but the love he protected inside his home.